Okay, thanks for coming back now. You'll be pleased to know we're on the home straight now. We only have 3 hours to go. So what we're going to do, we're going to have a bit of another exercise for you to this bit, and just to have a quick look at an action plan. I do feel you're all so far up on this stuff, but I'm going through a little bit quickly because you know it all, and it's probably, oops, hang on a second. Although I can't, it's doing what it did yesterday, not moving. Oh, there it goes, sorry. So the action plan is, the key questions are, what actions need to be taken by whom, by when, that would deliver the type of tourism we want for our destination. So that we need to keep that in mind. And how do we prioritize them? Who will lead and who will support on each action? Because as we've been talking about today, we're going to need a lot of support from different organizations. It's not always the project manager who's going to do everything. When you develop an action plan like this, in my experience, everything you want to do suddenly comes down to one person. It's the DMO or the project manager. It shouldn't be. Some of the time, a lot of it will be, but we should make sure we know who's leading and who's supporting. So then we get to what are the outputs, the KPIs, key performance indicators, and then the last two we're not even going to discuss. How much will it cost and what sources of funding? But this is the point. Go on, go on, go on, go on, go on, go on. But it's at this point, once we get to the end of the day or the end of the action plan, that we I'm experiencing degraded audience participation. Degraded audio quality. Okay, sorry about that. Anybody who's listening. Whoops. Sorry. Experiencing degraded efficiency in my own computer skills here. So it's not until we get to everything we want to do, we've identified who will lead, who will support, what our targets are, that we then start to say, okay, now we're going to implementation. Who's going to, how much is it going to cost, and who's going to pay for it? And at that stage, we might reorganize our priorities according to funding, but not until this stage. So what I'd like to do now, on page, it's easy to look at in the toolkit, on page, just as an example, page 70, there's an example which I've just put some objectives and examples of how we might develop an action plan. The important things are that we've got the high-level objective under on these blue rows, aim 1, aim 2. So this one is to accelerate economic development, aim 2, keep the community alive, aim 3, minimize negative aspects of tourism and kinds. There could be all sorts of others, but this is just a page of an example of how it flows through. So here we have 3 high-level objectives. Let's keep the community alive. Let's say we took this as our major high-level objective. What we need to do is increase seasonal spread of visitors, especially in the off-season. We probably need to increase events during the off-season to do that. We probably, in doing so, need to raise the tolerance of visitors, of residents, their tolerance of visitors. So those would be the high-level objectives. And then a target might be, in relation to events, we might mount 3 new off-season events. And to raise residents' tolerance, we might have 1 PR campaign. And then we go through the actions, and there's a deadline column here, whose responsibility, who's in the lead, who's supporting, and then I feel this needs to be funding, and how are we going to evaluate it? How are we going to measure success? So in this case, we would probably, the PR campaign aimed at residents, we'd probably do a resident survey to see whether their tolerance had improved, whether they're more tolerant. Just ideally, you want to have a baseline and then do it every year. And in the case of the events, your evaluation, you've got a target of 3 new events, and then the target, your evaluations are saying, did we do them? So it's just a standard action plan. What I hope might be useful now is if in your groups you just work on, select a big aim, doesn't have to be any of these, whatever you think is appropriate. I'd like to select an aim. Oops. I'd select 2 high-level objectives, I'm sorry, remembering that these are the high-level objectives, increasing spend or improving the quality of tourism products, increasing that's whatever. So select 2 high-level objectives, and for each of these, can you identify key performance indicators, a couple of actions, who should lead on it, and how you measure it. Is that clear? Just to get a feel for what's involved and where you're going to have some issues, and then I'd like you to feed it back afterwards. So I'm going to give you 20 minutes. Can you do that in 20? Do you want 30? 20? 20, yeah. Okay, can you do all that in 20? Select 2 high-level objectives. Start with one, and then if you don't get to the second, that's fine. Start with one, and then identify this lot here. For reference, as I say, the action plan is on page 70. Anyone, is that clear? Anyone want clarification? It's these sort of things. So we want to increase yes, exactly. That's not so. We're clear on the objectives. What is the high-level objective? I love that. I really appreciate that. Thanks very much. I don't get hold and say hi. Few more minutes. We're ready?
inn á
Okay. We'll have quick feedback as we start with this group. Okay. Just before you do, how easy was this? Yeah, yeah. See, I think you're all very well ahead of them because this is not becoming yeah.
Okay, so the first high-level object was the occupancy rate, get it up, especially outside the high season, and this is 10%. So we wanted to raise it 10% per year for the next 3 years. And we said that the actions that we needed for that was marketing, product development, and to educate travel agencies, especially here in Britain, to kind of show them the option of staying overnight in the region. And this is the responsibility of the visit offices, plus the companies in the region and the municipalities, which kind of all come together in our office. And we could monitor this with Iceland statistics. The second high-level objective was to raise standards in accommodation, and the target was to get 1 4-star hotel in each region. Yeah, so the action is to attract investors, and we are going to use based on the increase that we're going to see in night spend. And this is something that we recommend that we would operate with the regional development offices. It's often for such investors. And the outcome was 1, 2, you would 20.
Usually, you said there's a lot of people involved, and who's got a lead responsibility?
Well, the regional visit investor office.
Okay.
For this one, and then the regional development office, which is sometimes in some regions the same. In fact, with regard to the hotel, that's also we work with to us at we're talking about foreign investment.
Great. Thank you. And you might want to start, if you're actually doing this plan, break some of this out into targets as well, in terms of product, how many people you want, how many travel agencies to bring in, all that stuff. That's quite a good high level set of actions for DMP. Thank you very much. Okay. Mr. Rising.
Okay. We got 2 high-level objectives, but we only got to work on one of them. So the first was to spread tourism in space and time, and to increase tourism off-season visitors. And then the second objective was visitor participation with the local culture and get a sense of place. That is get more, get the visitors to feel as they are part of the region. And by that we will get more positive attitudes for locals and visitors. And the actions to get to this, you have to have a tourism awareness campaign on a local level. That would have to last for at least 2 years. And we also want to have member loyalty cards for locals to increase the value for them, so they see the value in using the service at home, and to encourage the locals to use the tourism companies that are ahead. And to figure out if this is working, we will have to evaluate the experience and the attitude of the visitors when they have left. If they felt this central place. That would be done by surveys. We didn't put any number on how we want to increase the happiness of the visitors. Around 0 yet.
You're not so much focusing on making the facts, more of the experience.
Yeah. And the DMP manager and local service community would both be responsible for this project and also fund.
And presumably once you've got your baseline for, so what you just said there, for the attitudes, then you can look at that, compare that with your, Okay. Just one thing, I know you go into this about tourism and space and time. It's a big headline, but I would say they're two very different objectives because you'll undertake different things to achieve each one. And that's why you can throw there. Three objectives.
We actually have 3 objectives.
Yes,
yeah. There were so many.
Yeah. Thank you for that. One of the things we need, I was just looking for a bit of quantitative analysis, quantitative targets and some of this. Quality is good, but yeah, great.
Our focus was more on the site. So, for the first part, it was the community awareness of tourism. The good impact, bad impact, and how to evaluate perhaps. And it's part of the tolerance knowledge level. So it's how positive are they towards tourism and so on. Do they understand what is happening in the community because of tourism? And then it's the action is this communication plan, communication plan, and first campaigns that are probably very similar to what the one of the projects in readiness, to the image of the area. And the responsibility, so it's on a regional level.
Yeah.
Regional level, so it would be the regional development agencies. Perhaps it could also be national level as well. But we took it down to the regions. So it's the regional development agencies, or perhaps the association of local authorities. How to evaluate it's regular resident surveys. The first survey will perhaps be the baseline, and as soon as people start asking people about these things, they perhaps start to look at them differently, or just start to look at them overall. So it gives us some level of how we're doing this business. The second one is the site access management and planning. So the destination within the destination, in a way. We talked about limited numbers of visitors, or just numbers of visitors overall. For each site, we would measure or do some plannings, and evaluation of that site. How many how many visitors can we get before it starts impacting, and how can we find the balance of input and output in a way. So the responsibility would be the landowners or the stakeholders for the each site, and how to validate it. I couldn't write anything there, but it would perhaps be by monitoring the sites with some counting measurements and so on. But as well, it's part of the tolerance of the visitors and the place itself.
What we, for instance, know is that most of the tourist operators take off from early in the morning. So the sites are often busy from maybe 10 to 4 p.m. Then there might be empty after that. We also know that, for instance, in Reykjavik, what we see is of this one for the residents is that the flights are so early in the morning, so those that are leaving, they have to stroll with their bags on the streets of Reykjavik, like in the middle of the night, waking everybody up. So it's like, if the flight would be around 9 or 10, it would be much better, because then you're not waking up the residents at 3 or 4 o'clock.
I didn't recognise that. I have always seen flights leaving at ungodly hours from Keflavik. I presume that's because of the arrival in the US, right? Yeah.
Well, it's only to Europe, it's from 6:30.
Yeah, which is more reasonable.
The goal is for each areas to utilize the time that is not like this. They are going to have more night flights and more flights which are on hours.
Yeah.
But that's
Berlin and Buri, they often take up
right. And the measurement of this area, so it's the first time last year when here the tolerance of citizens in February is the noise is too much probably in airplanes. But that's going to be new residents that complain because we used to have much
low flying jets.
with the RP. So it's
Did you say Berlin or another time?
Yeah, I think they took for instance when I was trying to
And that's just because of airport slot usually a lot of time. Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
But
And they're filling. Yes.
I mean, we aim to sustainability for Iceland as a destination, so we also have to think about on the side.
Yeah. Yes.
That needs they need the balance. Because it's an important thing.
Just one thing on the responsibility of the last one, the site access, is responsibility on landowners. Are they really going to take that on?
I mean, a lot of the sites are in the private land.
Yeah.
So if it's not their responsibility, I mean, if they want to build up the site, they need to take the responsibility of the access. And it's also for their benefit. If they overdo it, people stop coming. But if they don't want to do it themselves, they need to find someone who will. So everyone can benefit.
Do you think they need, though, you or a project manager, somebody keeping, leading the poking of them to make them do it? Or they're not going to do it on their own?
I mean, there's a lot of landowners that do not want to participate. And then we have to put some very tolerant person to go visit them every week and chat over a cup of coffee. Ease them up.
Yeah.
But it's also a problem where you have multiple landowners. Yeah. We, for example, had in Námskeið, which is the biggest project. We have 150 landowners, and 2 of them are against building it up for tourists. And of course, They don't live in the area. Most of the landowners don't live in the restaurants. They live here in Breakbeat and Broad. And those that go furthest away are most against it. They want everything it was when they were there.
Yeah.
For our area, it's the national park, so it's state park. And just recently, when was it, a few months ago, that they had changed in law for the Vatnajökull National Park. So the national park can actually regulate and put some limits on how many people can, for instance, be in an ice cave. Or, you know, or on the glacier, or, you know, in different areas. So now they're trying to, like, monitor how many people actually coming in there, and having some like glacier scientists, you know, figuring out how many people can be in there so it's safe. But the companies are not happy.
No, because that's what we're saying about, remember that circle of virtual responsible tourism. So if companies can't get the numbers they want, they've got a conflict with the environment. Is that because too many people will melt the ice and it becomes unsafe, or?
The ice caves are, you know, it's not that safe. It changes a lot. If it rains a lot, you know, it's a different place from if it's been freezing. And it's so that's a big issue. But then we have a difference between the companies coming from Reykjavik, doing the day tours, with just selling and selling. They, you know, as they say, you know, it's our responsibility to have people get the product they want. While the local companies are more like, you know, this is our home. We wanna, you know, if we can't offer them the ice cave because it's not safe, not good for the environment, we'll offer them something else to do in the area. So there are big conflicts there.
This is a huge. I mean, I think we're seeing just what a potentially big revolutionary change DMPs could be, because you're going to have to confront some of these issues, not necessarily solve them, but raise them. And I think it becomes a responsibility in the absence, I keep saying in the absence of DMO structure, where that's the role of a DMO manager, but actually these issues are raised, and if there's national implications, then people have to have the courage to raise it at a national level, but hopefully by getting together to raise it at national. But I'm already seeing at least two issues that have come out of today that I would have thought need to be raised if they're not already being discussed at national level. Those are issues to do with land ownership and access, and I'll probably get kicked out of Iceland and never allowed back, preaching revolution, but and statistics, national tourism statistics. Okay, well, thanks for that. I think thinking about DMP, like everything today, don't get too hung up on detail. Just make sure that it's all action focused, that you're moving forward by Thanksgiving. And so now I just want to go the last few minutes, which we will go over quite quickly, and then I'm going to hand over to Anna. Do you want to say something just now before we go into evaluation?
Maybe if you
The challenge. Yeah. Okay. I'll just finish with how do we, the final bit, or the penultimate bit, how do we know when we're successful? I'm not going to labour this because you all know about evaluation, but the key steps to me are the ones, these ones. We need to measure our performance, obviously, which we've just done. Lessons learned. Just like we've been trying to capture the things here that have come out that maybe we need to put in the box for national discussion. We need to capture things we learned from DMP that go back into the updating of the plan. And again, we come back to communicating progress with stakeholders. So the main thing is the questions we need to ask are, how do we know when we're making progress? What measures will we use to evaluate progress? How and when should we communicate it? And then, as I said, how do we incorporate it, lessons into an updated DMP? Oops. There's a couple of examples I put in the toolkit to show different ways in which people have measured. So this is one from Northumberland in England. They're very numerical, it's very quantitative. So they look at measuring the number of visitors. This is a tourism and economic activity monitor report. very, as you had in the first group, a clear target of 5% growth by 2020, and measuring the value of visitor spends and report. They're measuring the number of people employed in tourism. They have an employment survey. Visitor spend, this is an interesting one. How much of the visitor spend is influenced by their marketing activities? So website analytics is one way, and customer surveys, and that's the target they want. An extra £70 million worth of tourism spend to be influenced by them. They do a business survey. Obviously, the businesses give them their figures, and this is rating. They want to be rated amongst the most loved destinations, don't we all? So there is a survey done by Visit England that they will take the information from. Their target is to maintain their position in the top 3, and then they do a customer survey, the usual stuff, overall satisfaction with visit, attractions, accommodations, what you took through. The bits of what you did know much more than this. And customer surveys, they've also got a thing here, perception of tourism as a career choice, as they've got a problem getting people into the industry. So they feel it's their responsibility as part of the DMP to encourage people to want to work in the industry. They do a survey of students, and they need a benchmark here. They haven't figured out what to do. They're kind of interesting what their focus is, and very numerical, quantitative measure, whereas in Australia, this is the Whitsunday Islands, very easy, well, very big, broad. So we want to advocate for politicians, governments and industries for the protection of the region's marine and natural environment. It's brilliant, really big, great objective, isn't it? I mean, that's what we all want. How are they going to do that? They're going to get red balls thrown at them. We want increased funding. So I'm not sure that's really a KPI. They're obviously saying we need funding for this. Is that a KPI? I think they need to have something more related to the environment. But no, that's one of the activities. Marketing campaign, 3% annual increase in visits to national parks. They put their other partner organisations here in the time frame. And then the last one, again, pursue opportunities to develop area beach marine discovery centre. And very simply, the target is development of a beach discovery centre. So I think it gives you an idea of the range of different types of targets. I just put that up to say, don't get too hung up on targets. The simple question is, what do you really want? That's your target. Now, what do you really want? In this case, they really want a marine discovery centre. In this case, they really want more visitors. So I think a lot of people in action plan get really hung up on should it be 3%, 5%. Often that's not very scientific, but always just take the common sense attitude. What do we want out of this? And if you can't put a number on it, well, okay, say what you want and then try and put a number on next year. I keep saying the action plan should be taking you forward. It shouldn't be academic and theoretical and completely business rigorous in my view. Well, yes.
Because of the business revenues in the survey that we do yearly, we try to figure out how much revenues the businesses get. And on the average hotel rate, and expecting tourists to spend on average 30,500 kroner per day. It means that the businesses profit from approximately 160 billion kroner in the
Well, that's great if you can get that information, and you can get that.
But it's like just like I guess we're trying to put some structure around it.
But the value of that is then you measure the same thing every year, so you're getting a trend analysis that shows whether you're moving up or down. So and again, I think while actual numbers are important, it's where you're moving year on year that's even more important. And I'll be very cynical for it. Most, as you were saying, most tourism statistics like that have got a big margin of error. So if you can assume you're going to have a similar margin of error every year, you do know whether you're going up or down. You may not, because you're really going to the analysis of it. Sometimes you see completely conflicting figures. But yeah, measuring the same thing every year I think is important. So we're getting there. Covered pretty much towards the end, report, communicate and update. So I would suggest that you should have an formal annual DMP report, which probably should be nice, glossy, with a few pictures in it that, you know, are showing a professional face that goes to the steering group and stakeholders, so that that's part of the communication plan. And Mr. Land is waving yours there. So, quarterly progress reports. You might do them less, but I think it's really important that the steering group does get a report on progress. Very good, I'd say 3 to 4 times a year. And it should just be focusing on the big issues, not detail, but on what progress you've made, what threats you foresee in the near future, and any big decisions that the steering group is going to have to make in the next 3 months. So again, keep it simple, but it's important that you're feeding this back. And then, as we've said, back to your communications plan, which you would have reviewed at an earlier stage. Make sure that you are communicating progress to stakeholders. And I would also advise that you have a few things in your DMP in the beginning where you can make a quick win, so that you can suddenly find out how many visitors are spending money at the campsites or whatever, so that you can quite quickly communicate with stakeholders, show you're making progress. So a quick win it's tactical, it's political, but it's important to keep the stakeholders on side. And then make sure you capture what you learn as you go through the DMP and include it in your review. So now, the question on next steps. What I'd just like to do before we have a general discussion is, can you take your pink slips, pink stickies, and say how confident you are now to start your DMP? At 1 to 10. Any difference would be really interesting. Okay, let's just see a show of hands. Are you all in the same place? Does anybody feel less confident to start their DMP after today? No, that's a start. Who feels the same? About the same as this morning, right? Who feels more confident? Okay, well, that's good. Don't just be nice. I'm pleased. Because I honestly think you all contributed so much, and you're clearly, from today and yesterday, really going down this road. So I do think that bodes really well for your future. I'm very impressed with what I've seen and heard. But if you could put on those pink things, out of 1 to 10, where you think you are now in confidence compared to this morning. And then when you've done that, the final, sorry, whoops. The final thing is I'd like you to think about is what 5 key actions will you commit to doing when you go home? So this has been a nice discussion today. We've talked about lots of issues. But are you really going to do so? What are you going to make up your mind to do tomorrow when you go home? Because before you answer, can I just ask, when we did the last exercise, these flip charts, were those real for your region? Those are real examples. Good, good. Okay. So if you go ahead and do this on a scale of 1 to 10 on your pink stick, and then you've got the workbook, what 5 key actions will you commit to doing? Okay, very quickly, I'm going to take you through, you filled in the yellow stickies at the beginning of the day. Here's what you said. No surprises there. It's all about time, reliable data, and communication. That's how we grouped what you said. I'm sure you're not surprised. But we've got, these will be available. I'm not going to go through them. The sort of things that people were saying, time's a big issue, lack of time, scope of the project, scale, data, communication with different stakeholders, and that was about it. So, was it? Yeah. So, can I just say thank you very much for your enthusiastic participation, your attention, and your immense contribution in terms of all the participation in the exercises. Thanks a lot, and I do wish you all the very best with DMPs. I hope I'll see you again, but I'm sure from what I've seen, you'll do really, really well. So,
We have the slides.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how will our communication with you be in the project?
sorry, I don't understand.
I mean, we have the project manager, we have some project.
Yeah.
Will it go through social?
We need to talk about how we do that. The thing, and we'll just talk about communication with me after this in terms of my availability, how we do it. I think it'd be quite good to focus it somehow rather than every minute. We need to talk about it. I think we're talking about possibly having fellows at some stage to discuss key issues. Maybe. Yeah, big data. Yeah.
Ég heyri ekki til, það fundur svaðið. Já. Við erum alveg að klára bara 20 mínútur. Það ég ákveðum sér, í komandi að þessar umræðu, þá náttúrulega maður bara ber undir ykkur hugmynd sem kom hérna upp í framhald af þessar umræðu, hvort við ætlum að vera með einhvers konar svona datadag, eða þar að segja einhvers konar svona áræðanleg gögn sem við myndum fá til einhvers konar aðeina að segja sem vita hvað þessi gögn að finna, hvaða gögn að finna hvar og hvernig, og þá að það við auðvitað sem verkefnisstjóri hjá stjórnarskapnum, hún vinna stóru verkefni sem heitir áræðanleg gögn. Hún var sjálf að vinna á Hagstofunni mjög lengi. Hún veit mikið hvar gögnin liggja og eru mjög dreifð. Rannsóknarmiðstöð ferðamála, Hagstofan geti komið að þessu, Ferðamálastofa og þeir aðilar sem búa yfir þessum gögnum.
Nú verður þú nefn bara í mánaðarlega í hefstöð, hvernig sem það fyrir
Já.
Ég þarf á þessu fá líka.
Þetta bara hugmynd sko sem ég að leggja fyrir ykkur, hvort að við frekar í það er mest verkefni að fá eða vera með svona hitta út, hálfut á, þess að við myndum bara ræða þetta, fá tímafjöld aðeina, bara þannig að þið fáið svona meiri tilfinningu fyrir því og við getum mögulega samræmt eitthvað svona, það að segja, að vera með einhverja kriteríu,
Og fá klipp.
Já, svona klipp, já.
Og við líka náttúrulega líka þannig að þau heyri hvað þessi ykkur haft þannig að það sé hægt að verið að vinna þessi áhættum inn í áræðanleg gögn.
Já.
Þannig að þetta verður bara styrkt þegar ávinnu.
Já. Það eru nokkuð stór verkefni í gangi, til dæmis meðal annars mælaborð söfnumstöð, þar sem við að taka saman öll gögn, þar sem þau verða kynnt á einu stað, þar sem er bara svona hægt að mónitora í raun og veru með áræðanleg gögnum hvernig það mælist. En eins og hún var að segja, hún Hrafnhildur, þá hefði ég bara gott að þessi aðilar heyri í hvað er það í raun og veru sem ykkur vantar, hvað er það sem þið viljið, hvernig viljið þið sjá þessi gögn framsett og margt. Það er spurning hvort við ætlum kannski að skoða það í vor þegar við erum aðeins, eða kannski á næstum vikum eða mánuði, þegar við erum komin aðeins lengra inn í verkefni.
Þetta er að skilja þetta í samtengingu við fyrsta snertingu með tóm. Þannig að við þurfum ekki að vera að taka marga það þá einu saman.
Það kannski þurfum við líka að sjá fyrst hvað er til. Það er ekki nýtt til að geta að identifæra hvað okkur frekar. Þannig að ef þetta er safnað saman eitt stað, hver er þessum aðeins á mennslu og við einhverjum í eitthvað svona klikt sem við getum notað og þegar við færum að nýta það inn í vinnuna, þá kannski frekar að þetta hvað